I am the nature hacker, and this is your world. So, today I want to talk about a new postulate that I have, and that is making clean energy. One second, let me see if I can see my stream up here on YouTube. Alright. Okay, cool. So here it is. Happy Saturday morning. Hope everyone is doing well. So, if you know me, you know that just making gold isn't enough. That's, I have to solve all the problems, not just one problem. One problem being money. Making gold would definitely solve that, get us out from under control of the banksters. But the other thing is energy. So right now, maybe having money would solve all of our problems. Maybe having our own money, like making our own gold, would solve all of our problems, because then we could, get back to the land and have land and, be able to grow crops and stuff, and we'll be fine. But right now we're kind of struggling with energy. Everybody's so close together. We don't have land, to do what we want, to grow our crops, to do solar farming, stuff like that. So I was like, well, how can we make energy? Maybe we can make energy. Nuclear reactors use neutrons to create massive amounts of energy. Maybe we could come up with a way to do that on our own. So check out my website. I just dumped some of my notes there, but it's difficult for me to write something without talking about it first. So I just want to kind of get this out there on video, hear any of your input if you want, and then I'll try to write something up on my website on naturehackerproducts.com. But anyway, so here's the thought. We can make neutrons, supposedly, according to our making gold thing, like that you might have seen in my last video. So the theory is that, one second. Okay. So the theory is that we take hydrogen sulfide or hydrogen telluride, something like that, by burning carbon or graphite mixed with sulfur or tellurium. Okay, so we burn that. This is very dangerous. Make sure you really know what you're doing before you try any of this, but this is the theory. So you combine graphite with sulfur and tellurium. You burn that. That produces hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen telluride. That interacts with sodium hydroxide on the surface of quartz crystals, which strips off all the positive charges, makes a strongly negative charge. That negative charge travels through the quartz, hits the inclusion of iron oxide. So the electrons travel through the quartz, hit the iron oxide. The iron oxide, some of the protons are converted into neutrons. They leave the iron oxide, and basically what happens is somehow it causes a few irons to come together into a gold atom. Okay, so anyway, but the whole process of that is converting iron oxide protons into neutrons. Okay, so if that works, then we have a chemical way of making neutrons, a legal chemical way of making neutrons. Okay, so this is how to make a legal nuclear reactor. Okay, a legal, safe nuclear reactor. Okay, so now what we do is, well, we don't really care about creating gold right now. All we care about is those neutrons that we get from converting basically converting the iron. Okay, we're changing the protons in the nucleus of the iron into neutrons. Okay, that's what we want. That's what we care about. Now, how do we turn those neutrons into power? Well, what really we have to do is to make unstable isotopes. So obviously things like polonium and thorium and uranium, those are all illegal, to have and use and whatever, because they are fissile especially thorium and uranium and obviously plutonium, are fissile. So what can happen is you can get a runaway reaction. It can nuclear meltdown, right? So we obviously don't want that. We want something safe. So that's fine. They can have their craziness. We don't need that. We don't need those fissile elements. But what we do need is unstable isotopes. So if we take something like bismuth and we use these neutrons we're creating to add to the bismuth, then we're going to create an unstable bismuth. So a radionuclide bismuth, and within a few minutes, a few hours, a couple days, that bismuth will all decay. It will all decay, and when it decays, it emits radiation. And if you can capture that radiation, which is easy to do, then you can create heat. So you have your own little nuclear reactor that's totally safe, will never melt down, ever. It's impossible to melt down. Safe, legal. So yeah, that's what we want. So how do we accomplish that? Well, first of all, we have to convert these neutrons into thermal neutrons, which is basically just slow neutrons, because it's pretty easy for lighter elements to catch these neutrons that are whizzing by. But when you have heavy elements like bismuth is a very heavy element, it doesn't want to catch those whizzing by neutrons, okay? What it wants to catch is slow neutrons, okay? And they supposedly have this little equation of the longer the neutron is in the area of the nucleus, the better the chances that it will capture that neutron. And that's what we want. We want the bismuth to capture a neutron. That way it becomes unstable and decays, producing radiation. Now, so that's what we want. We want to have slow neutrons. We want to convert the neutrons we get we transform iron, okay, into some neutrons. Then we want to slow those neutrons down, and then we want to have bismuth nearby so that it can catch the neutrons. And one little note, you always want oxides. Oxides seem to catch neutrons and stuff better. They always use plutonium oxide, they use uranium oxide or dioxide in their reactors. So it seems like oxides are necessary. They capture neutrons better. Okay, so, well, first of all, we need to make those neutrons coming off of that iron, we need to slow them down. So to do that, we need something like beryllium oxide. So we have beryllium oxide mixed in with the iron oxide. So the crystal gives the charge to the iron oxide, boom, converts some of it into neutrons. Now those neutrons go through the beryllium oxide and slow down. And now we have a filter that filters out the fast neutrons from the slow neutrons. That filters quartz, okay? And quartz will probably reflect the fast neutrons back. So what will happen is the iron will release neutrons. The fast neutrons will bounce off the quartz and bounce back and just get reflected. The beryllium oxide will be slowing them down, and once they get slow enough, they're free to go through the quartz, because the quartz is a thermal neutron filter. And then there will be bismuth inside the quartz that absorbs or captures these slow neutrons. It becomes radioactive, it causes radiation, and we got heat coming off. Well, then you surround that with water that's filled with boric acid, boron, like, what do they call it? Borax, Well, boric acid is similar to borax, it's just acidified borax. So you have that in the water. Boric acid acts as a neutron absorber. Okay, there's all these different types of neutron this and neutron that. We got neutron filters, we got neutron moderators, we got neutron creators, we got neutron absorbers. So you want to absorb the neutrons to convert them into heat. Okay, so yeah, and also there's just a bunch of other radiation coming off: alpha particles, beta particles, gamma rays. Hopefully the water captures most of that, and I think hopefully with the addition of boric acid can also maybe catch more gamma rays and stuff like that. But anyway, it's a water heater. That's what it is. We're creating a safe nuclear water heater to heat water. So we could use that water to run a what do you call it? Just some type of power generator. We could use it to take showers and blah blah blah. So anyway, that's pretty much it. So that's pretty in depth. I can try to explain how to practically do it a little better. So what you're going to want to do, what you would have to do with this, before with making gold, you can just buy fire quartz, and the iron oxide is already in the quartz, so that makes it easy. But with this new thing, we're going to have things mixed in. So with the iron oxide, we're going to have mixed in beryllium oxide, okay? And with the quartz, we're going to have mixed in bismuth, all right? So we're going to have to make that on our own. So we're going to have an oven that can melt silicon dioxide into glass, where we add in our bismuth oxide. We have a bismuth oxide glass. Then we're going to need to slowly lower the temperature to get it to crystallize. And not only that, but in addition to the the silicon dioxide, which makes glass, we also want to have sodium hydroxide in there, because that's what helps make the quartz. So you have silicon dioxide, sodium hydroxide, you make a glass with that, then you put in the bismuth oxide, so now you have bismuth oxide glass, okay? Then you need to mix in somehow get it to make like veins. Maybe you lower the temperature a little bit and you put in, so the glass is kind of gummy, and then you add in your iron oxide, beryllium oxide mix, and you kind of fold that into the glass. Fold it like, cooking has you fold in ingredients, so you're going to want to fold in the iron oxide and beryllium oxide mix into the glass, the very alkaline glass, because you have sodium hydroxide in it. And then you let that sit at the crystallization temperature of quartz, which is, I believe, 800, 850 C. In an 850 C oven, you let that crystallize into quartz. So now that's our stuff there, okay? That's the stuff that we're going to activate. That's going to be our raw material, our fuel, so to speak, okay? So we're going to take that, crush it up in the coarse powder, and that's going to be used in our test tube, for example, okay? So we're going to have that. And then, we're going to have the same tellurium, sulfur, graphite mix that we burn, goes through dry ice preferably, comes up into this new quartz, iron oxide, bismuth, beryllium oxide mixture thing. It turns the iron oxide into, it turns the iron oxide into a neutron releaser, okay? We slow the neutrons down with beryllium oxide, so it's not going to create gold, because these iron atoms aren't going to be side by side. There's going to be beryllium particles inside there, so it's not going to easily make gold. It's just going to release the neutrons from the iron. The beryllium in the middle, beryllium oxide, will slow the neutrons down, and they probably won't be captured so well. Well, they might be captured by other irons, so we might be creating some gold, but hopefully the goal is that some of those slow neutrons come through the quartz, hit the beryllium or the bismuth atoms, turn them into isotopes that are now creating radiation. We capture the radiation with water. So let's say you have your little test tube with a little burner under it producing the hydrogen sulfide and hydrogen telluride gas. It comes up, releases the neutrons hit the bismuth, and the bismuth releases radiation. Then you have water surrounding all of that, so you have like a tube in water or something surrounding all of that, and the water mixed with boric acid to help capture all that radiation and turn it into heat. So I know that's a lot. You'll probably have to rewind and watch that again, but I just want to get this out there. I want to talk about it, okay? I'm not calling this a scientific theory or anything. This is a hypothesis. This is my postulate on how to create clean, free nuclear power, safe, okay? that you can do in your own house that can be your own energy source, you know. So you can create your own energy. That's the whole point of this. You know, having gold is nice, but creating your own energy is on a whole nother league. So that's what my goal is here. So let me see if anybody has any comments. Oh, and I wanted to say that I don't really want to do hangouts because I have a lot to get out there, not super ton of time in my schedule, so I don't really want to shoot the snitch with haters. You know, if they want to comment on the side over here, I can address their concerns. Yeah, nobody's chatted yet, it looks like, but yeah, so this is the theory. Well, not a theory, this is my hypothesis, my postulate. I will test it. You know, obviously I want to do the gold first, but you know, it wasn't enough just to focus my whole life on making gold. That's not quite, that doesn't quite do it for me. I want to do something more powerful, more useful. You know, gold is, you know, kind of useful, but it's more of like, you know, all you would really be able to do with making gold is just sell it, really. It's not like there's a ton of uses you can have. You can't create energy from gold. So this is how I wanted to create a process using the understanding I came to actually create something useful. And so creating your own energy is definitely useful. So anyway, that's what I wanted to do. So thanks for watching. I am the Nature Hacker. Let's do work.